When you went to, I'm going to become a professional artist, independent artist on my own, kind of, how did you prepare for that? How did you prepare for that emotionally? And also, without getting into numbers, how did you prepare for it financially?
That is a great question. So the preparation, it started with my very first layoff, but I still had one foot in, one foot out. And, when it happened, I just remember speaking to my parents and they was like, what are you going to do? Are you going to come back home? You can come home. I said, oh, no, I'm not coming home. And I didn't want to stay in Illinois. I was just thinking about the cost of living. I'm a realist. So it's like, okay, I got a severance. I have this benefits package. Now let me make the most of it. So I used that to relocate here because I didn't want to go, I just didn't want to go back home. And I guess that's like every, college graduates, just ultimate, like ending up on your parents' couch. Like, spent all this money to get a degree and now you're back at home. So, I mean, who knows what would have happened if that was the case. But I betted on myself and I was like, I'm going to move to Indianapolis. It was more affordable than where I was. And I'm like, there's several places out there I can find a job. I was still in the job mentality. But that first layoff was the first time that I had ever opened that art kit that I had bought, from my last job when I was living in North Carolina. And, that was the first time I opened it. And I just, for a week, I didn't talk to anybody. I just opened it and I started painting. And that was like the first time that I could really remember just like really painting. Like, I'm sure we've all done it like in elementary, middle school, things like that. But, and I posted online and people start asking, oh, how much is this? And so that was the moment where I knew that this is the business. And I had to figure out how to get there, how to make it a business. So I was still one foot in, one foot out. When I came here, I started looking for other jobs because it's like, okay, I have a safety net that's only going to last for X amount of time. So I need to make sure that I have another means and a new city. I didn't know anybody. Like, of course, outside of the people that I went to school with, a few lived here, but I didn't know anybody. New city, didn't know anything. And I just had to infiltrate the art community. Like, what's going on out here? Because I figured out what it was. And I feel like the what is it could be a little bit problematic for some people, kind of figuring out what it is that you're good at, what it is that you love, what it is that you're passionate about.
How'd you know?
I guess I knew when I would sit at my desk and draw all day because that's where I wanted to be. And, I just recently watched this Netflix show and it's like based on dreams. And, there was a moment in the show when the guy, he was like the king of dreams. And he was saying, people dream about the places that they want to be and the places that are the most comfortable to them. And in that moment, it was like a daydream. And I was in a place that brought me comfort. I was in a place that brought me peace. And it wasn't anything that I ever needed to escape. So that's how I knew. I feel like when you find that place that is your calm, and it's like, you don't need an escape from reality, how people do their 9 to 5s and they can't wait for the weekend, can't wait to clock out. It's like, I know in that moment while I would sit at my desk, nothing else mattered but that. So that was the destination.
Were you ever afraid that turning it into a business would take away the joy that you got from creating?
I never thought about that until probably later down the line. And like to making that transition from the passion to the business aspect of it. To be 100% honest, I was focused, and I think I've been more honest lately. I was focused on making a business. Like, even though the what was the passion, the why was to be self-sufficient, to have income, to make money, to be able to provide. It was security at the end of the day. That was the why during that time and in my moment. after just going through my different experiences. So when I was preparing to make that transition, to do this full time, the second layoff occurred, and all of this happened within a span of 2 years. So it's not too far off. And the second one occurred, I got a job out here and I worked, and they told us in June that our last day was going to be in October. Okay. And I felt like that was divine for me because it gave me my due date. Like, this is your expiration date. This is you getting kicked out. This is it. So that was so helpful, because sometimes it sprung up on people. Like the first time it happened, it was sprung up on me. The first day, they was like, okay, you got to leave today. Wow. Like, we'll walk you out. So the second time, it was a little bit more strategic. And I think that was divine too. Because I literally started at that moment when they told me that, I started taking every check that I had. I would pay my bills, and anything extra, I started buying supplies. So, I started thinking about ways to monetize not just the art, but to make it a service as well. So I started buying all my paints. I started buying easels. Paint parties were really popular at that time. So I figured out a strategy to generate income, started working on my business plan, and I really got into it. I remember people would call me to come hang out. I'd be like, no, I'm building an empire. And I would sit there, really just map out my business plan and just how I wanted everything to function. Got my LLC. I didn't open a business account, but I did open a separate account in my bank account. There you go. Better than nothing. Yeah, because I was like, dang, you got to have minimum funds. Yeah. I'm not there yet. So, I just set everything in place as far as the framework to make sure that it was a strong foundation and I just wasn't hopping into anything. So I'm very structured in that sense, having, knowing how much money I needed to make a month, knowing, pricing my rates. And it was really service based as well, and not just selling art, but selling a service, because I'm in Indiana. And at the time I thought art didn't really sell like that, but we're going to figure it out. So that gave me time to prepare. And it was like, you have no other choice at this point. So everything extra was literally going towards the business. And
Did you ever kind of give yourself the out? It sounded like you knew this, but how much of it was your thought process of, well, if this doesn't work out, I can always go back to corporate to find more?
That was never my mentality. I told myself I wasn't doing it. And I never filled out another application because I did that job search the first time. The second time it happened, I'm like, this is not a coincidence. There's a reason that this is happening. And are you going to listen to it this time? Because it was something that was always inside of me that I wanted to just work for myself and be a business owner. But I think at that time, I probably was so integrated into the culture of how life is supposed to be, quote unquote. I don't know if I would have pulled myself out of it to pursue what I wanted to. So like you said, that nudge from the universe, it was like the inertia that I needed to excel and really just go after what it is that I knew I wanted. And it removed the fear from it as well, oddly, because once you experience something like that, and I was literally just having this conversation with a friend about just experiencing hard times, you never know how you're going to react or respond to it. So it could bring about so many emotions, especially, if I would have had a family, to support or anything like that. So I know everybody's story is a little bit different and they may have different motivating factors, but it was just me. So I was like, even if I make minimum wage, I will gladly make that for myself. If I'm the one paying me, that's okay. If I can make enough to pay these bills, I'm cool. And that was literally just the driving force behind it.